Okay, so let's start on what we are going to discuss today. I'm going to share with you how our agenda looks like. Now, we are going to discuss why most evaluations in Toastmasters in general fall flat. We'll also discuss why evaluation is so hard and why it is so important for us to learn evaluation, like effective evaluation. Keeping an eye on the evaluators, some evaluators just hit it very hard, and whereas certain evaluations feel it might be it could be improved. We look into the four types of evaluators which we should not be. We then look into building once we know what not to become. Now we start learning on how to build evaluation as a skill. Potentially might get into a evaluation contest and prepare such that every time we give an evaluation, it it hits the audience hard. They understand we need to they understand it, and effectively in the end you want them to take action. We then look into the basic blocks of evaluation. Like I consider evaluation, if you think it's a big structure, we look into how what are the basic building blocks of an effective evaluation. We look into some of the frameworks as well, like Toastmaster gives you a commendation, or PIP, you would have heard. Evaluation, we'll look into some other structures potentially, but we are going to study it from an analytical quality perspective, keeping an eye on how can our evaluation reach to the audience. End of the day, an evaluation is a gift. You're working so hard to give an evaluation to your audience, that's the speaker, so then they can start taking action. And finally, at the end, I'm going to give you my template of evaluation. You can use it. If you are a new Toastmaster, you can just use it as a template in your Toastmaster clubs. You can just fill that structure in. So once you start filling in, after a few sessions, it starts getting automatic. That language becomes automatic for you. So before we move on, I just wanted to check what what do you think is an effective evaluation? So, and why is evaluation so important? Now we talk about we as Toastmasters talk about becoming good speakers. But what we are really looking at here is to become a good speaker, we also need to understand what a good speech is all about. And to understand what a good speech is all about, you have to become a good evaluator. You have to see the good, you have to see the bad, and you have to see the ugly. Once you differentiate all the good, bad, and ugly, you can take this entire, like say, you start activating your like your specialist eyes. You start looking into what certain people are doing good, which you can then borrow the good into your presentations. You saw a technique, you start identifying all the techniques people are using and put that into your presentation, so your speeches become better. To become a good speaker, we have to first become a good evaluator. And a good evaluator is finding the good, the bad, and the ugly in any presentation. Now, but why is evaluation so hard? Why is evaluation so hard? Now, as new Toastmasters, or in general, if you start looking at people, you see somebody giving a speech and they would be so fluent. You tell, man, I'm not finding anything. I'm not finding anything in that particular speech. There's no flaw, it's just flawless. And when, as a new speaker, you come in and you see A very experienced person giving a speech, you start scratching your head, understand, thinking, how am I going to find any flaw in this presentation? Now, this is where we start looking and being like Sherlock Holmes and finding, being the detective and finding what is good that I really liked. What can they improve? And we'll ask a few questions as well. Using the structure, which we will discuss, elevates you into the the good, the bad, and ugly, even of the best of the speeches. We will address that situation. But before we move on, let's look into the four types of evaluators, which you don't want to. And you'd see them in your club. And you might be one of them. I'm also one of them. So I'm also guilty of doing this. I learned this metaphors from Darren Fleming. One of During one of his sessions in the District 73 conference, I think some 10 years ago, he gave these four types of evaluators. The first one, let's see who is the first one. The whitewasher. Now, I've seen the whitewasher coming in. They will talk about how great the speaker is, and they will also use certain words. I know you are an experienced speaker, and I know they will go to history and talk about how great the speech is. And if there were $1 million, I will pay for it to watch that particular speech. You did great vocal variety. You do so all these things great, and then they will finish. You know what it does to the speaker who is giving the speech, listening to that, they start feeling unfulfilled. They will ask the question, if my speech was so good, why did I not win? If my speech is so good, why are not why are people not coming back, and why not people getting that points? Why are people not changing? Now, this is the role of a whitewasher. They'll just whitewash everything. They and in their heart, they might even have found certain points of recommendation, but they fear that if I give a point of recommendation, it might hurt the people. And it also comes from various cultures where they are not even direct. They will not tell anything negative. They will also go with positive. It's built into the society. The second type is actually the polar opposite, the fault finder. And you see, it reminds me of the teachers when especially when I was young, teachers from my era, where they used to always used to make a nice drawing. You go to the school and go to a teacher and show, and the teacher will tell, I did not like the color, or the rainbow looks like, say, a dungeon, for example. They'll give you, they'll find all the faults, and you'll find the polar opposite in real life, and you see these people in real life, you start avoiding these people. Every time I go, they will always find faults. And I'm also guilty of similar thing because my son thinks he's 16. He thinks I am a fault finder. Every time you are not cleaning the house, you're not doing this, he comes, Dad, tell me something positive about this. You're just finding my faults. You're not seeing other things which I'm doing. Don't be this kind of evaluator where you just find faults. So what we are doing is finding the good and finding the bad and balancing it. So then the speaker can take action. The next one is is the commentator, I would say, the highlights package. What they would do is they will summarize everything. They will start with they will start with they will essentially just echo the same speech and give it to the people. And you when you hear these kind of speakers or evaluators, you tell, Oh, well, I thank you for repeating everything, but can you tell me what did you find good? Or how can the speaker improve? So these are the personas who are they've just run the highlights reel around, oh, you started with this and then you put in your story, you moved into this, then you narrated this. I loved how you then brought us to this one and you start moving it. The last bit which we find most people generally fall into this category is the generalist. The generalist brings finds the praise, finds the recommendations, and finally builds the summary. But at the same time, the generalist does not tell how the person improves. For example, the generalist will tell you had done, you had great body language, you had great gestures, and then they will move on. They will not tell the crucial bit of why they found it great. And for improvements, and this is where I am also hinting into certain questions we have to start asking. And the generalist does not also, when they tell, they will also tell your speech lacked, you spoke in a monotone and lacked vocal variety, and they will just move on. Then the speaker scratches the head. Okay, you told me vocal variety, but what do I do? What should I change? And then you see that speaker coming in again. You see the same evaluator giving the speech again. Oh, the variety is improved. You could do much better. That's it. And this does not bring change in the speaker. So, as evaluators, it is our duty to give a call to action. So then the speaker gets motivated to bring in change. End of the day, you want your speakers to improve. And it can be applicable to our own workplace as well. It's also applicable to family, sometimes family as well. You can actually use this framework. We then move on to, okay, you'll ask me, you have told me these four, but what type of evaluator should I become? Good question. You have to be a generalist and you have to be a specialist and mash together. You have to be a mish. We'll mash all of this and we'll prepare a template so then you can just use it. And I'll give you certain questions which you can ask, which will then evoke a response. We call them as trigger words, some things which you can find to elevate your evaluation. But let's understand what is the basic building block of evaluation. We know building block of evaluation is we have to give a commendation, we have to give a recommendation. Now, when you give a commendation, you find something which the speaker really did well. Say, for example, you can tell what I liked, and if you just model the language, if you see what I liked, you could literally use what I liked and put that in your template. What I liked about your speech was your body language. So we discussed what I like. I'm just putting in some question here. So if you have marked what language I'm using, I'm mentioning what I liked, and give that observation, what you really liked it, and then don't move on. Still stay here. Then you mention why why did I like it. Now, if we build a commendation together, you can tell, say, for example, Sue gave a speech. What I liked about her speech was her structure. Why I liked it? Because it was flowing from the beginning to the body and the conclusion. It it flowed smoothly, and with the transitions added to Sue's speech, it was very easy to listen to, and and it was very empowering. So if you hear it back, I created a simple structure of a commendation. So that's the basic Lego block of a commendation. You just literally just put what I liked, like literally the same words you can put what I liked. And if you want to be specific, you can tell what I liked in particular, the language in particular, or what I liked specifically about Sue's body language was she was moving across the stage. Then you tell why, because when Sue moved to the left side, she was narrating the first narrative, and when she stepped one, I'm just making it up. So if you stepped one step forward, I felt deeply connected to why you liked it. So that's it. That's the commendation. Easy. Now, what do we do about recommendation? Recommendation has three parts. You tell what I what I would say. It's actually what I'll come to this question. And feel free to raise your hand, or ask me questions if you want some more elaboration on this. So when we come to a recommendation, we tell you put in a transition, and then as you start moving, just focus on the recommendation. You could tell my first recommendation to improve your speech or improve the speaker's speech if you are using the third person is, so you can tell, is you tell what you did not like, and don't use the words literally. You don't tell, oh, I did not like how you waved your hand, you pointed my fingers like this. That's actually too direct. If we can tell what I liked, but if we tell what you did not like, might cause the speaker to okay, this might look very confrontational. What you could mention here is soften the language, like, what did you not like? For example, you can use, I'm just making it up now for Abhilash, who has never given a speech at the Toastmaster Club. You give what you did not like. Now, when Abhilash spoke about, when Abhilash say, hypothetically, I saw Abhilash pointing fingers and using this one, which kind of felt derogatory. So, in summary, I felt pointing fingers. I felt threatened. For example, I'm just making it up, Abhilash. No, no, don't now come after me.
All good, Ansuman.
So you mentioned that, okay, so you saw that action that could be improved if Abhilash removes that gesture and opens his hand. Save. Instead of using that gesture, he uses a different gesture. So you mentioned that, in the recommendation part, you tell when Abhilash, so you put in what you did not like. When Abhilash pointed fingers, or you can tell, I found within the speech Abhilash using one hand gesture of pointing fingers too frequently. And there you mention, you tell why you did not like it. Now, now when Abhilash's was pointing fingers, and this is how you felt, you put. I felt as at the receiving end, and it brought back bad memories of my school principal pointing fingers at me and asking me. I felt a bit direct, so I'm just making it up. So you tell what you did not like, what like the gesture, and you also mention why you did not like and what it made you feel, especially the feeling part. How did you feel as as the audience member? How did you feel as the audience member? And finally, this is the real gift here. You finish off with how. How can the speaker do better? You can. So we discussed Abhilash pointing fingers, and when the fingers were pointed, I felt that it was too direct. It brought in bad memories for me. Now, if Abhilash could open his hand instead of pointing fingers, open his hand, then it creates an open gesture, opens the body more. And this is the gift you, as an evaluator, are giving to the speaker, telling how he or she can do better. That's it. That is the basic building block of a commendation and a recommendation. All we need to do is these are the two Lego bricks we are going to put and stack on top of each other, and our speech is ready. Our evaluation is ready. Now, this is where I will give you my evaluation template. I will, I told steal my template. You can have it. And I'm going to give you a Word document which I have it, which has everything. You can literally print it out and you take it. But I just did it in Miro here. And before we get into the evaluation template, we covered the building blocks. We look into how to find commendation. You'd ask me, evaluation is hard. How do I find a speaker really did well? Now I have a hint. I'm going to search in Google for, say, international speech contest, judges ballot. I'm opening the judges ballot. You see, this is how Toastmasters judge. So our contest is the way is gives you how to evaluate. Once we understand good speeches, and this is where it requires skill, which will come back here. But traditional, if you see traditional, even NLP teaches that content is only 7%, body language is 57%. They use that word. But look at how Toastmasters judges. And this is what makes a good, effective presentation. Our content is 50%, our delivery is 30%, and language is 20%. What you could do is you can print out this judge's ballot with your evaluation. With when you get into evaluation, take the judge's ballot and you can rate. Just look, this itself gives you what to evaluate. See, speech structure, organization was the material. Then you have effectiveness. Was it clear purpose? Did they achieve the purpose? Then you have, so that is the content. Then you have delivery. You have what is the physical appearance? What was the body language? Did they move across the speaking area? Then voice, flexibility. Then what is the manner, direct, assurance, enthusiastic, appropriateness, and finally language. Did they use certain the words that were difficult to understand? Did they use good grammar? Like, did they use alliteration, for example? Did they use good speech structure? And and you can go to the other page which tells you what to look at in detail. So I would highly recommend, sorry, I would highly recommend you to start looking at the judges ballot. because you are now slowly training yourself to what is a good speech. Remember, international speech contest which Toastmaster runs is the pinnacle. It's actually the crown jewels of Toastmasters. Now, when we evaluate based on the judging criteria, we are actually improving our skill. We are improving our listening skill plus our spotting skills of what is good, what is the bad, and what is the ugly. And that will help you build your evaluation. Now, coming back to and I'm going to attach this in that Notion page, which will have all the things we are discussing. And that will also answer these questions: how to find good points of commendation and how to find good points of recommendation. This particular ballot will give you what to look for. Now, let's look into some of the meta structures. Let's look into what and two of these structures which Toastmaster teaches us. It is known as the CRC, is commendation, recommendation, commendation. That means you start with a small intro. You start with a commendation, a praise. You put in, it's also known as a sandwich method. You put in a recommendation that is an improvement, and finally sum up with a commendation. Now, why it is so important to start with a praise? What do you, why do you think, Toastmasters, we should start with a praise? Why should we always start with a praise? What do you think, guys? We should start with a praise because I'll go back to a bit of back to NL. I'm bringing my coaching material. Now, we have a conscious mind and we have a subconscious mind. And sometimes it's also called in psychology the unconscious mind. Now, when we start with something negative, we have a guardian which guards the gate. If we tell certainly something negative, it shuts the gate down. And and after that, whatever we tell, the speaker or any human will not listen to. We start with a praise because then it involves the guardian to understand, and that guardian actually protects us because that's our savior. It also helps us to keep our mental sanity. So when we put in a commendation, it opens up. Okay, when you put in a commendation, you tell this is the good thing you have done. So mentally, it opens the gates wide, and that is where you can put your recommendation in. So then person, the speaker is open to accept, understand, keep your recommendation, and actually you start working on it. That is the reason it's always important to start with a commendation, either using this method or using this method. So commendation, recommendation, commendation. The other bit is keep, improve, and stop. That is also some people use it. It's known as case. So keep doing. So that means a commendation, but you keep doing. You tell what you have found. Then you put an improvement. Keep improve, and the other bit. Once you give your improvements, you also mention the highest level of improvement is certain things which we should stop doing, which the speaker should stop doing. That means I felt it's best if we could avoid these gestures, or like I'm just using um, in one of my speeches by mistake I used the Nazi salute. It was, and we had Jewish people and people got offended. So, and it was purely by accident. But that my evaluator mentioned it's better we avoid these kind of gestures because sometimes it's not suitable. It might show us in a different light. Also, again, telling us why and how can you change it. Again, the commendation, recommendations, these are different structures. You can get into the online world, you can find so many structures, but this is the basic building block of our basic meta structure of Toastmasters. Now let's look into, I'll give you my template now. Let's look into the template I use for my evaluation. I start with I start with my speech title. Now, so I start with a speech title. What You can start with a small intro, telling what a brilliant speech given by Philip, for example. Philip's speech was all about Philip's speech titled. You can then insert the title. Then you tell the next bit you mention what was the purpose of Philip's speech. I'm just making it up, Philip, not against you. What was the purpose? Philip's speech's purpose was to entertain the audience. Now, again, if the speaker gives you a purpose, state that purpose. For example, Pathways' purpose was to icebreaker, was to introduce the to the audience. So it's essential as evaluators to highlight the purpose of the speech because by the time the audience listens to your evaluation, they would have forgotten what was Philip stop talking about in his presentation. So stating the purpose gives you like the body of your evaluation around what your evaluation will be based on. Now, say Philip's purpose was to give an icebreaker, was to introduce himself to the club and all. Then you mentioned in two sentences a short highlight around, and that also goes into the structure. You can tell Philip started with his presentation on say AI. I'm just making it up. And then he moved on to tell the story of how he got introduced to the AI and finally ended with a conclusion. So a very short summary, a highlight. And and then you start to the first commendation. What I liked, and going back to the commendation, what I liked about Philip's speech in particular was his use of technology. And as he was moving the clicker, his body was matching that one, and I felt really connected to his speech. So I'm just using the same commendation, what and why. And then you can give the second commendation, the other thing, and you use the word, the other thing what I liked about Philip's speech was this, and again tell what why you liked it. Then we move on to the transition. The transition states what you can do is you can you can mention here in the transition that now Philip's speech was brilliant, but to make it take it to the next level, or you can tell to improve it or to bring that shine in. So you can build that transition. You can actually you write it pre-prepared. You don't need to write it on the spot there. You can write it pre-prepared. Like Philip's speech was brilliant, but to make it even more brilliant, or I sometimes learned this. So this is where you watch all these experienced evaluators. Once you have this meta structure, what structure are people using? Because once you start taking this one and you tell, Anshuman is using this. This is club class. Now to take it to world class, he's using this often. I will write it down. So when you start observing people, you start building these fundamental blocks here. Then from here comes my first point of recommendation. So use that transition. My first point of recommendation was Philip's use of, say, his his use of the stage because he was using a clicker and the screen was on this side. He was just standing at one place. And also mention why you did not like. Now, when Philip stood at one place, I felt the stage was all empty, and I felt there was a power imbalance. Now, if Philip could have moved as he clicked, he would have moved to highlight his points to this side, and this side. It would shine through. The message would shine even more. Then you move to the other bit. The second point of recommendation I have for Philip is again go through the same structure. And the last bit is you put in another transition here. The other transition is because you're moving from recommendation to commendation. If possible, use the word but. But the best part of Philip's speech, and then you move to the last structure. Because you are telling to the speaker, I'm giving you a few commendation, I'm giving a recommendation, and I am self-negating that my recommendation by using a but and moving in to giving you the best commendation I have. The best part of your speech was your structure, how you opened, how you brought in the body and the conclusion. It was a clear structure, and it was an easy to follow through message. And then finally, put in a loved your speech, Philip, and give a summary around. Just don't need to give the full summary. Just give one point of commendation, a small recommendation. Just put what. Don't no need to tell why again. What, and then finally, give a call to action by passing on that one. I will. It will make your. It is. It goes into this transition again. It will make your speech even shine more once you move from this one transition and back here. That is it. 41 minutes, and that is the entire speech. I was hoping to. In fact, what I'll do is I will watch a speech. I have actually two speeches I wanted to evaluate, but the speakers are not here. So it's better I record it and give it to you so that not to waste your time. I'm going to share with you my presentation. In fact, this recording as well as this speech template. What I recommend you is to, if you are a beginning Toastmaster or even if you're an experienced Toastmaster and fall into those criterias, print that speech template to start with till it starts becoming automatic. Once you start this, once you start making this automatic, then you know don't need the speech template. You can just crush it and you start building your own speech template. I think that's it for today. So take and I want to finish off with presentation is always a gift. That is the reason it is a presentation. And in evaluation is even a higher gift. If somebody giving you a gift, you are actually wrapping that gift in a nice, like in Christmas used to give gifts, right? In a nice wrapping paper, and you are making it up. You are making the presentation even more beautiful by telling the presenter how to wrap it properly, so it would even shine. So then they can take that gift and give it to other people. That's my presentation. And I'll pause now. Do you have any questions for me? Sue, Joe, Abhilash?
Yeah, all good.
All good. Okay.
All good for me as well, Ansuman. Thank you.
Okay. I hope it was value for you because once my story was once I started making good evaluations, my speaking quality started improving. So my speaking improved like 10 times, and you start finding those clues because you start winning competitions. And how do you know you are becoming better is once you start clicking on you start winning competitions or people like for the other day at the convention, um, people don't remember your name, but people remember, as I told, they always remember how you made them feel. And people now remember my stories. They don't remember me. That so there was this lady who came in. Hey, I know your speech Green Monkey, but I don't remember your name. I told doesn't matter. you got my message. That is most important. So that comes out, that really shines through. All right, I'll let you go. 7:44. So next week we are focusing. We have two options. Either we can do a speech writing workshop, or we'll go back to storytelling fundamentals. We'll cover. So thanks for joining. And if I'll keep recording. I think every week I'm starting to record all these sessions, so you can keep watching, keep replaying. We have done, so this is the fifth session. The first session was around how to pick a speech title. We went into the second speech was the second session was all about how to find I think how to find this. We discussed around Aristotle's rhetoric and how to excavate your stories from your and make better stories. And so you can go to the previous recordings and watch, and do feel free. And if you want to present a speech over here, want to practice just before the club, let me know beforehand. We'll open the floodgates for you. All right, I'll let you go.
Thank you so
Have
much,
a nice
Anshuman.
Thursday.
This was very helpful. I was also thinking that I will raise my hands for the speech evaluator, which I have not done. The thought process was I am still learning how can I evaluate someone, but those points actually good. Now I can apply, and for the next Toastmaster, I will be the evaluator. Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Yeah, the best evaluators are the people who are new, because they bring in a fresh perspective. You should
Okay.
put your hands, because Toastmaster we used to, okay, body language and all. But new people coming in, they give you the non-Toastmaster outlook. They give the best gifts to the speaker. Believe me so.
Okay. Cool.
So
Let's
yeah, put
see.
your hand up.
See you.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Okay.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Thank you, Ansuman.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.